Hi, this is Regeline Sabat, also known as Gigi. You're listening to Walk With Me podcast. My guest today is James Woods. James is the principal security architect at Certus Cybersecurity. Also, James is an NSSRP IT sector subject matter expert at InfraGard. And James is a Maverick PAC member. Welcome to the show, James.
Thank you very much for the introduction, Gigi. It's great to be on your show. I'm humbled. You're an inspiration to a lot of people. I'm really thankful to be here.
You're welcome, and it's an honor to have you here today. Now, why don't you start off by telling us more about you and where you are from?
Sure. I'm currently located in North Texas. The work that I do is related to primarily PCI, if you're familiar with that. It's the payment card industry, where I lead our cybersecurity practice for Fortune 500 companies. What we do is do quality security assessments for their payment card and validate whether they are in compliance. Aside from that, I've accepted a 2-year commitment as a voluntary contract with InfraGard. It's a great organization. They're basically a national program with about 70 some odd chapters. And the goal there is to interconnect the private sector with government. So although they're affiliated with, each chapter is affiliated with a local FBI field office, the goal is to maintain its independence and nonprofit status through educational programs, information sharing, especially when it comes down to threat detection. So it's a great group to be a part of, to share information and help our clients as well as our businesses internally.
That is absolutely amazing. Now, tell us more about application security.
I questioned whether you had asked me that in particular, and I was afraid that maybe I would be too technical. And so what I'd like to do is actually step back a couple of feet and maybe put it into a general perspective. I mentioned a bit ago that I do work with PCI. So imagine, if you will, walking into a grocery store, and at the checkout line, you use your credit card. Now, a lot of things can happen at that time, and a lot of potential risks that we don't consider individually, but maybe we just accept and then pay for our merchandise and then move on. But if I step you through a few things, you'll better understand what application security is. For example, if you go to the counter and pay with your credit card, but the terminal isn't working, you switch your card or you try to plug it in and nothing happens. And the cashier says, "I'm sorry, the system is down today. I'm going to have to take your card and run it through a manual process." So they do like a card wipe, a card reader. It's just a manual ticket that puts like microencoding on a piece of paper and validates with a signature that you've purchased something that day. So inherently there are risks there, because now your credit card number and your name is on a piece of paper, and who knows where that goes? Who knows what security is around that, how it's protected, how your identity is protected. Let's say the credit card reader actually works. So you stick your card in and it's jammed. It takes a little while to work. For some reason, it seems sticky, maybe gummy in some ways, but you don't think twice about it. You just go ahead and jam it in there and it finally works, and you pay and you walk away. Well, oftentimes that's an indication that maybe there's something literally inside that chip reader blocking the reader, but it's doing it on purpose. The intent is to read the information off your chip and take that information from the chip to some other location and use it without your awareness. So that's like a mechanism you have to be aware of, but you really don't pay attention to. And lastly, you might have the numbers, right? You're typing your code in for your PIN, and for some reason, the plastic seems like it's moving around. Why is it moving? Who cares? I'm just going to pay and leave. In reality, sometimes that moving around is because there's a layer of encoding on top of the actual keypad that someone has placed there maliciously to, again, steal your PIN number after they've read your card. So now they have the full information that's necessary to act as though they're you and charge without your awareness. So those are the kinds of things we consider in the payment card industry, but application security is all around us. You can imagine also using a credit card online, and you enter your credit card number in a form and press the submit button, but you don't really know what goes on behind the scenes. So all of that is the type of work that we do in our organization. We try to better understand those data flows, know where your data goes, whether it's encrypted to protect your interest, and those types of things.
Fantastic. Thank you for sharing that with us, James. Now tell us more about your experience as a Maverick Pack member.
I love the group. It's a great organization. We had a meeting a little while ago, a steak festival. It was just fantastic. The collaboration among team members within that Republican Party is really amazing, because each individual that I've talked to, anyway, my experience is that everyone's views are respected, regardless of your political aspirations. And I think that's fantastic. It really shouldn't matter if you're associated with the Republican Party or Democratic Party or some liberal organization. As long as you spiritually, wherever your thoughts are coming from, they're respected and taken in the right context. And the disagreements are a great way for building greater conversation. So if that is continually changing and accepted and respected, I think it's wonderful. And MavPack seems to be one of those organizations that does exactly that.
Yes, I agree. It's an amazing organization. And now, James, what is your best advice to the audience for walking with purpose and living a life of happiness?
That's a very intriguing question. And I've actually gone through a couple of your past videos to see what other people have responded to with the question similarly. And what I take to heart is that it really is a personal journey. You know, for me, I think I've shared previously, not many people know this about me, but I didn't grow up very wealthy. I was quite poor. And that's what kind of led me into security, because there's kind of an allegory there. When you're in a position where you seem to be constantly looking for just solving for today's problem and not thinking about what's going on around you, your objective is really just to get through the day. And from a security perspective, sometimes that happens pretty regularly with businesses. The goal is just to figure out what needs to be done today from a security perspective, to make sure that their application is out the door, they get their business moving forward, but not really how it impacts everyone around them. And so I say my journey from a spiritual perspective is to really take into consideration that 360 view around you in whatever you're doing, and know that any action you take actually has an impact of others, regardless of who or where they're located. It could be virtually, it could be physically. And from that perspective, you kind of draw in a little bit more some introspection. You know, if you understand how your actions can act on others, then you can change yourself to be a better person and really just be, more kind, more aware of your surrounding, more security conscious, more situationally acknowledgeable, those types of things.
Very powerful. James, thank you for being a guest on Walk With Me podcast. Now, where can the audience find you?
You can definitely find me on LinkedIn. I have to admit, Gigi, I really don't use Facebook very much. And that's just because I think the mechanism there for communication has changed. And it, in some cases, has become a bit more negative. But to remain professional and be very positive, I found that, LinkedIn as an organization has really moved forward to maintain that positive perspective and build networking among people. So I really love LinkedIn. There are other groups that I am a part of, but I don't really spend a whole lot of time on them. In particular, from a business perspective, it's really just to interact with family members. So the best place is LinkedIn or through my email. You're welcome to share my personal as well as my business email.
I love it. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure to check out James on his website. That's certuscyber.com, and also his LinkedIn. That's James Woods. And James, thank you again for being a guest on Walk With Me podcast. You have a great day.
Thank you. You have a wonderful day, G.